The call came from the dealership at 7:45 on a Tuesday morning in May of 1989. Raymond Tucker was sitting at his kitchen table drinking coffee, going over the planting schedule for the week when the phone rang. "Mr. Tucker, this is Steve Paulson from Central Kansas John Deere. Just wanted to confirm delivery for Thursday morning. We've got your 3 units loaded and ready to go." Raymond set his coffee cup down slowly. "What 3 units?" "Your tractors, sir. 2 4455s and 1 4255. Your sons placed the order last month. Everything's financed and approved. We're scheduled to deliver them to your farm Thursday at 9 a.m. My sons ordered 3 tractors?" "Yes, sir. Daniel and Michael came in together, filled out all the paperwork, got financing approved through our preferred lender. Beautiful machines. You're going to love them." Raymond's jaw tightened. "What's the total?" "Total financed amount is $237,000. But with the package deal we gave them, the monthly payments are very manageable, just under $4,000 a month for 7 years. Raymond was quiet for a long moment. "Steve, I need you to hold that delivery." "Sir?" "Don't bring those tractors to my farm Thursday. Don't bring them at all until I call you back." "Mr. Tucker, I don't understand. The financing is already approved. The tractors are sold. Your sons are not the owners of this farm. I am, and nothing comes onto my property without my approval. Hold the delivery." He hung up before Steve could respond. Then Raymond Tucker sat at his kitchen table, hands wrapped around his coffee cup, and thought about what he was going to say to his sons when they got home from checking cattle that afternoon. Because this conversation was going to be the hardest one he'd ever had as a father. "Before we go any further, I need you to understand what's at stake here. This isn't a story about a stubborn old man refusing progress. This isn't about generational conflict or resisting change. This is about a father watching his sons make a decision that could destroy everything 3 generations had built. And if you want to know why Raymond Tucker was willing to humiliate his own sons, rather than let those tractors onto his farm, hit that subscribe button right now. Because what you're about to hear explains the difference between families that survive in agriculture and families that don't. Raymond Tucker was 63 years old in the spring of 1989. He'd been farming for 41 years, taken over the operation from his father in 1948 when he was 22 years old, fresh back from 2 years in occupied Japan after the war. The farm was 640 acres of good ground in central Kansas. His grandfather had homesteaded it in 1891. His father had survived the Depression on it. Raymond had raised 2 sons on it. And in 41 years of farming, Raymond had never once financed a piece of equipment. Not once. He'd bought used tractors with cash, rebuilt engines in his barn, maintained everything himself, operated on the principle that if he couldn't pay for something outright, he didn't need it badly enough to borrow for it. His sons, Daniel and Michael, had grown up watching him work this way, had learned to farm on equipment that was 20, 30 years old, had helped rebuild transmissions and replace clutches, and keep machines running long past when most farmers would have traded them in. Daniel was 36 in 1989, married with 3 kids, farming alongside his father for 12 years since graduating from Kansas State. Michael was 33, also married with 2 kids, had joined the operation full-time in 1980. Both of them were partners in the farm. Both had a say in operations. Both drew salaries from the farm income. But Raymond's name was still the only one on the deed, and Raymond's philosophy still governed how the farm was run. Or at least, it was supposed to. Daniel and Michael got home around 3 that afternoon, dusty and tired from fixing fence on the south pasture. They found their father sitting on the porch, waiting. "Boys, we need to talk." They could tell from his tone this wasn't about the fence. "What's going on, Dad?" Daniel asked. "Got a call from Central Kansas John Deere this morning. They wanted to confirm delivery for Thursday. Delivery of 3 new tractors. Tractors you apparently ordered without talking to me." Daniel and Michael exchanged glances. Michael spoke first. "Dad, we were going to tell you." "When? After they showed up? After you'd already signed the financing papers?" "We didn't think you'd approve," Daniel said. "That's why we didn't ask." "Damn right I wouldn't approve. $237,000 in debt? $4,000 a month in payments for 7 years? Are you out of your minds?" "Dad, our equipment is ancient," Daniel said. his voice rising. We're running tractors from the 60s and 70s. We can't keep up. We can't farm efficiently. Every year we fall further behind our neighbors. Fall behind in what? We made $62,000 last year after expenses. Farms paid off. Equipment's paid off. No debt. What exactly are we behind in? In capability, Michael said. In productivity. In being able to compete with modern operations. Dad, you're stuck in a different era. Farming has changed. We need better equipment to survive. Raymond stood up. Let me tell you what's changed. What's changed is farmers have been convinced that they need to go into debt to farm, that they need the newest, biggest, most powerful equipment to compete. And you know what else has changed? The number of farms in this county? We had 87 operating farms in 1960. You know how many we have now? His sons didn't answer. 32. 32 farms left. And you know what almost every one of those 55 failed farms had in common? Equipment debt, land debt, operating debt. They believed the lie that you have to spend money to make money, and it buried them. That's not fair, Daniel said. Some of those farms failed because of bad weather, or bad luck, or debt they couldn't service when times got tough, Raymond interrupted. Bad weather happens. Bad luck happens. The question is whether you're in a position to survive it when it does. And debt means you're not. So what? We just keep farming with junk forever? Michael's voice was bitter now. Keep falling behind? Keep looking like the poor relations at every farm meeting? Raymond's expression hardened. Is that what this is about? How we look to other farmers? Neither son answered. Let me tell you something about the farmers you're trying to impress. Half of them are going to be gone inside 10 years. They're running on debt and hope and the assumption that nothing will go wrong. And when something does go wrong, and it always does eventually, they'll lose everything. We could be different, Daniel said. We could manage the debt better. We could— No. Raymond's voice was firm. You could not. Because debt doesn't care how good your intentions are. Debt only cares about payments. And payments don't stop coming just because you had a drought or prices dropped or equipment broke down. Let me stop here and ask you something. Have you ever had to tell someone you love that they're making a terrible mistake? Have you ever had to choose between being liked and being right, especially when being right means protecting them from themselves? Drop a comment, because Raymond Tucker made that choice, and it almost cost him his relationship with his sons. The argument went on for 2 hours. Daniel and Michael tried every angle. They showed him the dealer's numbers, the payment schedules, the projected efficiency gains. They talked about how the new tractors would cut their field time in half, how they could cover more acres, how they could potentially lease more ground and expand the operation. Raymond listened to all of it. Then he asked one question. If we have one bad year, one year where income drops by 30%, can we still make those payments? Silence. Because we've had 6 years in the last 41 where income dropped by 30% or more. Drought, hail, price crashes. It happens. So can we make $4,000 monthly payments on $40,000 of annual income instead of 60? We'd figure it out, Michael said. How? By skipping maintenance on other equipment? By not buying seed for next year? By refinancing the land to free up cash? And what happens the next bad year, when you've already used up all your cushion? More silence. Here's what happens, Raymond said. You fall behind. You ask the bank for forbearance. They say no. They call the note. They foreclose. And everything 3 generations built is gone because you wanted to look successful. It's not about looking successful, Daniel's voice shook with frustration. It's about being able to farm. It's about having equipment that works. Our equipment works. Our equipment is 40 years old. And it's paid for. And I know how to fix it. And it's never going to cost me this farm because I can't make a payment. Raymond stood up. Here's what's going to happen. I'm calling Steve Paulson tomorrow morning and canceling that delivery. You're going to cancel that financing agreement, and we're going to continue farming this operation the way we've always farmed it. And if we don't? Daniel's voice was quiet, but edged with steel. Raymond looked at his oldest son. Then you find your own farm to destroy. This one's mine until I'm dead, and I won't let you put it at risk. We're partners, Michael said. We have a say. Your employees with profit sharing. I'm the owner. And as long as that's true, my decision is final. Raymond walked into the house, leaving his sons standing in the yard. That night, Raymond's wife Martha found him in the barn, sitting on a hay bale, looking at their old tractors. She sat down next to him without saying anything. I just destroyed my relationship with my sons, Raymond said finally. Maybe, maybe not. They think I'm holding them back, that I'm stuck in the past, that I don't understand modern farming. Martha took his hand. Do you think you made the right decision? I know I did, but that doesn't make it easier. They'll understand eventually. Will they? Or will they just resent me for the rest of my life? Martha was quiet for a moment. I remember 1973. When that drought hit and wheat prices were in the basement, we made $8,000 that year. If we'd had equipment payments, we would have lost everything. I remember. And 1980, when interest rates went through the roof and half the county went bankrupt. We survived because we didn't owe anybody anything. I remember that too. The boys don't remember. They were too young. They've only known good years, mostly. They don't understand what it's like to farm through crisis. Raymond nodded. That's what I'm trying to protect them from. The crisis they don't see coming. I know. And someday they'll know it too. If you're still watching this, if this story is resonating with you, do me a favor and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's facing pressure to take on debt they can't afford. Someone who needs to know that saying no is sometimes the most loving thing you can do. Raymond called the dealership the next morning. Steve, this is Raymond Tucker, about those tractors. Yes, sir. Are we still delivering Thursday? No. My sons are going to come in sometime this week and cancel the financing agreement. The sale is off. Mr. Tucker, I need to be honest with you. Your sons are adults. They signed the contracts. The financing is approved. Legally, they can take delivery of those tractors whether you approve or not. Can they take delivery at an address that isn't my farm? Silence. Because they can order whatever they want, Steve. But those tractors aren't setting foot on my property. And since they don't have property of their own, they'd need to find somewhere else to put them. Mr. Tucker, cancel the sale, Steve, or I'll be having a conversation with the county sheriff about trespassing. Your choice. Raymond hung up. 2 hours later, Daniel called him from the dealership. We're canceling the order. Good. This isn't over, Dad. Yes, it is, son. Yes, it is. The line went dead. The tension in the Tucker household lasted for months. Daniel and Michael came to work every day, did their jobs, maintained the equipment, planted the crops, harvested the wheat. But they barely spoke to their father beyond what was necessary for farm operations. Martha tried to mediate, tried to get everyone talking, but the wound was too fresh, the resentment too deep. By the fall of 1989, Raymond was seriously considering retiring early, signing the farm over to his sons and letting them run it however they wanted. If that meant they'd leverage it into bankruptcy, at least he wouldn't have to watch it happen. But then, something changed the dynamic. In October of 1989, a farm 3 miles down the road went to auction. Tom Henderson's place. 600 acres. Tom was 52 years old, had been farming for 28 years, and he'd lost everything. The reason was simple. Equipment debt he'd taken on in 1985 that he couldn't service when wheat prices crashed in 1988. Raymond went to the auction, watched his neighbor's life get sold off piece by piece, watched Tom stand there with his wife and 3 teenage kids, watching strangers pick through everything they owned. And Raymond saw Daniel and Michael standing at the edge of the crowd, watching too. After the auction, Raymond walked over to where his sons stood. You see what just happened here? Daniel nodded slowly. Yeah. Tom Henderson bought 3 new John Deere tractors in 1985, 4450s, just like you wanted to order. Beautiful machines, paid $68,000 each, financed them over 7 years at 10%. Raymond pointed to where the tractors were being auctioned off. Those same tractors just sold for $22,000 each. Tom still owes $40,000 on each of them. That means he's upside down by $18,000 per tractor. $54,000 in negative equity. Plus, he's losing his land, losing his home, losing everything. Not because he was a bad farmer. Not because he didn't work hard. But because he couldn't make his equipment payments when prices dropped. Michael's voice was quiet. Dad, we know. Do you? Do you really know? Because 3 months ago you wanted to put this farm in the exact same position Tom was in. You wanted to take on debt that would have buried us the first time we had a bad year. We didn't know it would be like this, Daniel said. That's my point. You never know how bad it's going to be until it happens. But if you're leveraged, if you're making payments, you can't survive it when it does. They stood there watching the auction for a while longer. Finally, Daniel spoke. I'm sorry, Dad. We were wrong. Raymond looked at his oldest son. You weren't wrong to want better equipment. You were wrong to think debt was the way to get it. So what do? We do what I've always done. We save money. We buy used equipment when it makes sense. We maintain what we have. We build this operation slowly and safely. And we make sure that 30 years from now, you're not standing at an auction watching your kids lose their inheritance. Now I want to hear from you. If you were Raymond, would you have done the same thing? Would you have risked your relationship with your sons to save the farm? Leave a comment, because this is the decision every farming family faces at some point. Choose the farm or choose the peace. Raymond chose the farm, and it almost cost him everything. The relationship between Raymond and his sons slowly healed over the next year. It wasn't easy. There were still tense moments, still disagreements, still times when Daniel and Michael clearly thought their father was being unreasonably conservative. But something had shifted after Tom Henderson's auction. The boys had seen firsthand what debt could do. Had watched a good farmer lose everything because of decisions that seemed reasonable when he made them. And they started paying attention to Raymond's way of doing things. In 1991, their old 1968 International 1066 finally died. The transmission completely failed, and it would have cost more to rebuild than the tractor was worth. Raymond's first instinct was to look for another used tractor, but Daniel had an idea. Dad, what if we pool our savings and buy something newer? Not new, but newer. Something from the 80s instead of the 60s. Can we pay cash for it? If we all contribute, yeah. I've got 12,000 saved. Michael's got 8. You've probably got more than both of us combined. Raymond thought about it. What are you looking at? There's a 1984 John Deere 4450 coming up at an auction in Nebraska. Low hours. Good condition. Estate sale, not a foreclosure. Seller's estimate is 38 to 42,000. That's a lot of money. It is. But it's a good machine. And if we pay cash, it's ours. No payments, no debt, just a significant upgrade in capability. Raymond smiled. This was exactly the kind of thinking he'd been trying to teach them. They went to the auction together, all 3 of them. Raymond, Daniel, and Michael. The 4450 sold for 41,000. They paid cash, brought it home, went through it completely. Had a tractor that would last them 20 years, and not a single payment to make. By the mid-1990s, the Tucker farm was running better than it ever had. They'd slowly upgraded their equipment through strategic purchases at auctions, paid cash for everything, maintained it all themselves, built a modern operation without taking on $1 of debt. Raymond began transitioning more of the daily operations to his sons, taught them everything he knew about maintaining equipment, managing finances, making conservative decisions that prioritized survival over growth. In 1998, at age 72, Raymond signed over half the farm to Daniel and Michael, made them equal partners in ownership, not just operations. His one condition, no equipment debt, ever. I don't care if John Deere invents a tractor that flies and picks corn by itself, Raymond told them at the signing. If you can't pay cash for it, you don't buy it. Daniel and Michael both agreed. They'd learned the lesson. Learned it the hard way, but learned it thoroughly. The call came on a Wednesday morning in April of 2015. Raymond was 89 years old, had been retired from active farming for over a decade, still lived in the farmhouse where he'd raised his sons. His grandson, Daniel's oldest boy Jeff, was calling. Grandpa, I need to talk to you about something. What's going on, Jeff? Dad and Uncle Mike are talking about ordering some new equipment. 3 new tractors. The dealer's offering a package deal. I wanted to know what you thought. Raymond felt his chest tighten. Are they financing them? No, sir. They're paying cash. They've been saving for 6 years. Got enough to cover it outright. Raymond let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Then I think that's their decision to make. If they can pay cash, if they're making a strategic purchase, that's good farming. That's what I thought. I just wanted to check with you first. Jeff, let me ask you something. Do you know why your father and uncle are paying cash? Because that's how we do things? It's how we do things because in 1989, they almost destroyed this farm by ordering equipment on credit. I stopped them, sent the delivery truck back. Almost destroyed our relationship in the process. I didn't know that. Most people don't. But your father and uncle learned from it. Learned that debt is a choice, not a requirement. Learned that patience beats leverage, and they've passed that lesson on to you. Yes, sir, they have. Then the farm's in good hands. Raymond Tucker passed away in 2017 at the age of 91. He died in the farmhouse where he'd lived for 79 years, on land that had been in his family for 126 years. The farm was still operating, still debt-free, still following the principles he'd established 70 years earlier. At his funeral, Daniel stood up to speak. My father embarrassed me in 1989, Daniel said. My brother and I ordered 3 new John Deere tractors without asking him. Beautiful machines, top of the line. And Dad sent the delivery truck back before it even made it to the farm. I was furious, thought he was being unreasonable, thought he didn't trust us, thought he was stuck in the past. Daniel's voice broke. But he was protecting us, protecting this farm, protecting 3 generations of work from being destroyed by our arrogance and impatience. Those 3 tractors would have cost us $237,000 financed. Within 2 years, we would have been in the same position as Tom Henderson. Within 5 years, we probably would have lost the farm. Instead, we're still here. Still farming. Still debt-free. Still building on what Grandpa started in 1891. Dad taught us that saying no to your children sometimes means loving them more than you love their approval. And I'm grateful every day that he had the courage to do that. The Tucker farm is still operating today, run by the 4th generation. Daniel's son Jeff and Michael's daughter Sarah farm the same 640 acres Raymond farmed for 70 years. They run modern equipment, purchased strategically, paid for in cash, maintained meticulously. And every piece of equipment on that farm has a small metal plate welded to it with an inscription, Paid in Full, Tucker Family Farm. It's a reminder, a legacy, a principle that survived 4 generations because one man had the courage to send a truck back before it entered his farm. So let me leave you with this final thought. Right now, someone's trying to convince you that you need something you can't afford. That financing is normal. That debt is just a tool. That everyone does it this way. But Raymond Tucker proved something different. He proved that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is say no. That protecting what matters means accepting temporary conflict. That the right decision is often the unpopular one. 2 sons ordered 3 new John Deeres in 1989. Their father sent the truck back before it entered the farm. Those sons thought he was destroying their future. He was saving it. If this story changed how you think about debt, family, and doing the right thing even when it's hard, do 3 things. First, subscribe to this channel for more stories about families who survived by choosing principle over popularity. Second, drop a comment. Have you ever had to protect someone from a decision that would have hurt them? Third, share this with someone who needs permission to say no. Someone who needs to know that being right matters more than being liked. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.